This is the third video in the series, Getting to Know 3D Expert. This video is intended to be viewed after having already viewed the first two videos. In this video, we will look at viewing slicing, we will look at arranging or nesting parts for printing, and also we will consider estimating print time and cost. We ended the second video with the calculation for slicing already set up to run, so this video will pick up with the slicing completed. By clicking on Slice Viewer, we can see layer by layer how the slices were calculated. At this point, we might remember that some objects were programmed at a 30 micron layer and others at a 60 micron layer, so we'll see these layers alternating on and off as we proceed up. And we'll point out that the display is showing in red slices going through the downward faces where supports are needed. The portions of each of these slices can be colored so that we can see not just which ones are downward facing, but also middle facing or upward facing. The direction of each of these lines can be seen, also the starting and end points of each line. An important part to any printing project is going to be calculating the estimated time and cost. Print estimation will take into consideration the volume of material being used on all the objects and supports, and it will also get information from the scan path itself in calculating the time it takes to do this printing. It's just a matter then of picking the currency that we wish to report in and then assigning the rates for the machine as well as our material costs. The report can then be generated in Excel file format or as a 3D PDF file. The report has been generated now as an Excel file. A picture of the setup is included and all of the information that we need. We'll now look at printing more than one part at a time. These could be different parts as long as they're the same material. And to do that, we're going to use the operator guide. Let's start by setting a specific number of these parts in an array of our choosing. We will use copy array to create multiple instances of these parts, and then we will arrange them in rows in a grid pattern. Here we will arrange the parts in a pattern of 2 by 2 and keep the parts 100 millimeters apart from one another. Also, there's the nice option of taking the 4 parts and centering them automatically on the tray. Visually, we can see already that there is an interference between these parts, so we will use position part to rearrange them. This lets us see immediately any interference between parts, and it will allow us then to move or rotate one of the parts, setting a clearance value as we do so. Here you see the part rotating freely once it clears the minimum distance of 4 millimeters. Another tool for arranging parts on the tray is called 2D nesting. First, we pick the part we want to nest, then we set the distance we wish to have the parts away from one another, then we allow for rotation as it automatically arranges the parts. We can see it calculating until it finds the maximum number of parts it can use. Now we can decide the order in which we will print these parts. Printing order allows for the parts to be printed in a random order or mostly across the tray in the X direction, or the option of doing the same but in the Y direction. We can set the print arrangement so that it's against the gas flow, or we ourselves can pick individually the order we wish to have these parts printed in. And with that, the job has now been arranged. and we can easily send all this information to the printer. Thank you again for your interest in 3DXpert. Please look for the next video in this series where we will talk about lattice structures and infill patterns.